Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and as you can hear, I'm sick again, which is fine because it does make my voice sound pretty cool. Today we're gonna talk about somebody you probably haven't heard of. A man named Hugo Höppener, or the nickname of his is Fidus. He could be defined as one of the most famous painters in Germany in the beginning of the 1900s, but he made himself very famous by painting in a third way, in a unique way, before it was the mainstream to be unique. He was a big part of something called life reform. And life reform was all about this third way, which is a way of vegetarianism, of nudism, of pacifism. We're going to talk more about this life reform, but I first want to introduce a little bit more who Fidus is. Fidus, which is his artist name, can also be called the faithful. He was very much into theosophy as well, and esoteric ideas, and a lot of his imagery was esoteric, was unique, was the beauty of the body, the beauty of the nature, the beauty of the sun. And the funny aspect of all of this, while he was the hippie of the time, during 1932, this is a hell of a jump though, but again, kind of talk about more detail. Just gonna show you the interesting aspects first. In 1932, he was in contact with Joseph Goebbels. He joined the Nazi Party, and he joined it mostly because of financial issues, because of Dadaism and all these avant-garde concepts that came in and destroyed his work. And the way he was presented in the beginning phases was Nordic concepts, a Völkisch movement. And it was liked by the Nazis in the beginning. When Hitler saw some of his works in 1936, the disgusting aspects of nudity and the third way, he was banned. And Fidus made most of his money through postcards. This is how a lot of people could have saved his material, and it was very unique, but that was also banned during the Nazi reigns. Alright, I had some cough medicine. I should point out that he actually became a professor within the Nazi regime as well, which is quite interesting. Like, he was both banned, but then in 1943 he became a professor. It's like, okay. But we're going to talk about Lichtgebet, which is one of his most important works, which is praying to the sun. Sol Invictus. I don't know, I'm trying to make the sounds. No, but Praying to the Sun is one of his most important works and became like one of the most important works within the life reform movement. Alright, so we're going to talk about Lebensreform now, but it all started for Fidus with Carl Wilhelm Diefenbach, which is one of the pioneers of Lebensreform and was also the teacher for Fidus. Very influential for pre-World War I Germany when it comes to the third way. And if you look at some of the imagery that he does have, you can see the inspiration quite clearly. There is no discussion that they were not interconnected. I can show you a bunch of penises. Naked men, naked women, naked men, naked nudism. Obviously, I can't show you that. It's like, look at this pecker. Oh no, is that an age restriction on YouTube? I can't do that. It's a movement that was very popular during that, in the 1900s. It was very popular in Germanic countries, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And it talked about going back to nature, empathizing raw food, organic food, nudism, sexual liberation, alternative medicine, religious reforms, abstention from alcohol, tobacco, drugs, vaccines. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? It's very similar. This is one of the more rebellious concepts of modernity, very popular today in a sense. During the Hippies, important people within this was Sebastian Kniep, Louis Kern, Rudolf Steiner, which if you're an occultist you've heard of, and then obviously Carl Wilhelm Diefenbach, which is the teacher, Fidus, Gustav Gräser, Adolf Just. Fidus was the main artist for this life reform movement, Lebensreform movement. This is why you see nudity a lot. You see natural landscapes, you see harmony, you see not sexual things, because the focus is not sex, the focus is just embracing nudity without making it sexual. This is why a lot of the times the certain Nazi officials and Nazi or Volkist movements, as you say, really liked it. It portrays a very beautiful Germanic man, flawless Germanic man in his natural environment, naked, with the sun, with harmony. If you're focused on the Germanic race, this, one of the best paintings for it. But it was never really about that for land reform. They were not Nazis, they were hippies. But it just turned out that certain Nazis liked it because, yeah. If you're going to look at ideology, they're anarchists, social anarchists in particular. So was Fidus. He was not an authoritarian, he was a complete anarchist. Yeah, as it says here, Karl Wilhelm Diefenbach was a pacifist, a Tolstoyan anarchist. His ideas included life in harmony with nature, rejection of monogamy, turning away from any sort of religion, following theosophy a bit for some reason, but vegetarian diets, and a few things like that. Yes, theosophy was a big part of this. A lot, such as Fidus himself. Fidus was a theosophist, and a lot of again, this is another aspect of why the Volkists like them, because the theosophy aspect in their work. Because theosophy and Volkism goes hand in hand. Ungewitz is also part of the Lebensreform, and he wasn't any special, but they're trying to make claims here that a book that he wrote called Weder nachten gewoldene Menschen, which is people have become naked again, has a lot to do with the Achtermann League, Rudolf Höss, because it states, see here, arguing that the practice he recommended would be the means by which the German race would regenerate itself and ultimately prevail over its neighbors and the diabolical Jew, who were intended on injecting putrefying agent into the nation's blood and soil. Unterwitzer founded his first organization, the Vereinigung für hygienisches Elitzen und ästhetische Kultur, meaning Society of Hygiene, Ethical, Aesthetic Culture, which is racial hygiene, more or less, that he wanted through nudity. If every German woman saw a naked Germanic man more often, so many would not run after exotic alien races for the sake of healthy reproductive selection. I therefore demand nudism, so that the strong and healthy will mate, but weaklings will not succeed in the reproducing. Yeah, and the funny part is, when the Nazis got to power, they cancelled him. They didn't support any of his ideas, they didn't support nudism, and they cracked down on him. This would be the big connection between Volkism and Lebensreform, which, yeah, that's not much. So if we go back to Fidus a tiny bit now here, he was also part of another movement called German Association of Land Reform, which some of you knows a lot about. It's Georgism. Fidus supported Georgism, and I can describe to you how their program looked like, the German Georgists. The Association of German Land Reform sees the land issue as an essential part of the social problem. He advocates that the land, this basis of all national existence, be placed under a law that promotes its use as a place to live and work, that makes any misuse of it impossible, and that the increase in value that it can achieve without work of the individual, and if possible, make it usable for people as a whole. This has felt like a morality video, which is, fine. There's no video about Fidus out there. Explore it yourself, man. It's beautiful art, man. I don't have to handhold you and everything. But the funny last aspect of all of this that I find very interesting about Fidus is how unique this form was, in a sense, in the early 1900s, and how it got destroyed by Dadaism in particular, Expressionism, Dadaism, and things like that. The avant-garde, it killed a lot of the other forms, that everybody has to have the same avant-garde form. You couldn't be different in your avant-garde, you had to do the same. So a lot of the more unique, localized art forms died out. And that part is very interesting and honestly quite sad in certain aspects. That's what drove him to work with the National Socialists.